be it resolved.
Hello, viewers and listeners, and welcome to Be It Resolved, a weekly debate podcast. Our form is relaxed and casual, but our topics are serious and we take them seriously. My name is Andrew Wood, and it's my pleasure to introduce my partners in crime here. We've got Al Brown. Hi, Al. Sarab Sandhu and Mario Karakidis. Okay, so we have a topic for you today. Be it resolved that America must abandon its gun culture. And the reason we've chosen this is because of the tragedies that have been in the news in the last week or so, the tragedy in Boulder, Colorado, and the Atlanta. So this is certainly a topical thing. Now, arguing for the resolution will be Mario and Sarab, and arguing against this resolution will be myself and Al Brown. Now is a moment to remind viewers that we're not necessarily arguing our personal convictions here. It's in the form of a debate. So we'll have constructive arguments for 3 minutes each. Then we'll have a round robin for about 5 minutes, and then we'll come forward with our final statements. So let's get this thing started with Mario Karakidis, who's going to argue for the resolution. America's gun culture must be abandoned. Mario?
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin first by saying how sad we all are, I believe, with what happened in the past events in Colorado. It is, when you look at the events and how frequent they tend to happen, and the death toll, the one thing that comes to mind is why. Why it happens. Why are we still debating gun culture versus non-gun culture? And the operative word here, from what Sarah and I have discussed, and we both feel, is the word culture is the operative part here, not guns. Guns is the symptom of the culture. And it's not only an American culture, don't get me wrong. This is a worldwide culture that we have, where we've adopted a me-first society, and very much most of the world, where we care first and foremost about ourselves and how we progress, and the other person is secondary. And it is a competition between that person and the other person. What we are proposing is that we change the philosophy in some way, that we look at it from either us first or a you first culture. So what we're looking at society is, let me care first and foremost about your needs. Because if I offer a helping hand towards improving your life, are you going to react with a gun in your hands? Are you going to hate me for that? Are you going to be suspicious of me because I'm helping you? And I'm not saying giving you a helping hand to the point of giving you just freebies. I'm talking about the old thing that we always heard is, if you feed a man for a fish a day, you will feed them for the day. But if you teach a man to fish, you will feed him for a lifetime. Within that kind of a framework, you got to look at the wisdom of those words. Because if we actually are helping each other grow, guns are going to become less and less necessary. That's where the change of culture comes in. Now, the reason why all this is happening is because we are afraid. We're afraid of our government. We're afraid of the police. We're afraid of immigrants. We're afraid of people that have different skin color. All of it, why? Because we're afraid that somehow they're going to take it away from us. And is that the way we should be thinking? Why are we afraid? Because there's a lot of social inequality out there, that people are taking advantage of us and not giving people the right basis for themselves to grow. So if I'm going to try to keep you down, of course you're going to hate me. If I am going to try to keep you down, of course you're going to fear me. If I try to keep you down, of course you're going to feel bigotry towards me, and you're going to want what? Revenge. And that is when the gun comes in. The gun is a symptom and a weapon to use that is a result of that hate, as a result of that fear, as a result of that bigotry. Now, I'm going to pause right here, but we will carry it on further with our arguments. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mario. And now arguing against this resolution, Al Brown, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I recall a story that was told to me about once a long time ago. The Buddha visited a kingdom in India, and he sat down with the king and talked about the welfare of the kingdom. And the king complained that there were so many bandits on the road. And the Buddha came back and said, well, why don't you just give them jobs? Then they won't be bandits anymore. And sure enough, the king put everyone to work, and there was no more banditry. In this regard, some of the things that Mario has said make a lot of sense, because the problems with the misuse of guns in the United States comes a lot from social inequity. But there is more to it than that. But we're talking here about the gun culture. There's nothing wrong with people owning guns. In fact, the Americans could own as many guns as they want if it was done properly, and if we didn't have the social problems that they have. Here in Canada, we don't have the social problems, but we still have a lot of the guns because they come in from the United States. We can't help it. They just come in naturally. But the number of killings that carry on here are a lot different because we have social support systems. And that has demonstrated itself very well during the pandemic, where our Prime Minister Trudeau said to everybody on the television back in March, folks, we have your back. People didn't have to go out and panic and worry about where their next meal was going to come from. Well, a lot did. But they did get support from the federal government, which got them through this. And in consequence, we have not seen the sort of violence that they've seen in the United States. But it isn't the number of guns out there that makes the difference. And the issue is whether the United States should give up its gun culture. We say, no, it's not the guns. People kill people. Guns do not kill people. Back to you, Mario. Or it's to Andrew.
Okay, thanks. Okay, now picking up the argument for the pro side, we have Sarab. Sarab, 3 minutes.
Welcome all. Welcome to the debate. And I would like to start with that there are 4 primitive fountains of life, which actually everybody, even the animals, are governed by. And they are food, sex, self-preservation, and sleep. And what is being used to preserve is self-preservation. They feel that our mode of living, our properties are going to be taken away, our rights are going to be trampled, so we need something to protect ourselves against that. So this is what we have to look at. If we can change the culture where it is always you first, about the society first, about love, and not about hate, not about me, then you don't need guns. You don't need guns at all. But even if you had all the guns, you don't have to see them, but then there's no need of having guns if you don't see them at all. My father had a gun. It was lying in the box for many years. We knew it was there, but we never actually took it out to even touch it. But we had the gun, but we didn't use it. Now, I would like to tell you a story about self-preservation and treachery and all those things. There was a monkey called Raktamukha who stayed on a tree, and he had very good fruits of that tree. That's all he did, that he would walk from one branch to the other and enjoy the beautiful fruits. One day a crocodile came down below and they started talking. And of course, he was a friendly monkey and he gave him some fruits. He also liked them. They got friendly, and every day they would talk to each other. Then one day the monkey gave enough fruit to take it for his wife. The wife loved the fruit. She says, I love the fruit. If this is so tasty, she told the crocodile to get the monkey's heart. This guy says, how can I take the monkey's heart? He's my friend. He says, no, no, no. She started crying. And that's where the crocodile tears come about. And then, anyway, he capitulated and he went there and told the monkey the wife is asking him to come for a meal. So he says, I can't swim. He says, stand on my back and he will take you across the river. He was living on the other side of the bank. And right in the middle of the river, he decided to tell him the truth that I actually, my wife liked the berry so much, she wanted to eat your heart. This guy was stopped for a while and then he says, what do I do? He says, whoa, you should have told me that before. I left my heart in the hollow of the tree. You have to go back. So this guy turned around and of course he went into the bank and the monkey jumped on shore, went up the tree, and this guy waited down below. And he says, you're not coming down? He says, why should I come down? You're a friend who is so mean. And in any case, you're stupid also. Who keeps a heart in the hollow? Now, here you see, in this story, you see where this guy is wanting it and where the monkey was showing love and the other person was showing deceit, and self-preservation was his idea. So with that, I would say you have to improve you have to know your own self and have a culture of helping and not be scared. Fear is the biggest thing for self-preservation, has to be removed. If that can be removed, you don't need guns. All you need is gun. Back to you.
Okay, well, thank you, Sarab. It's my job now to bring up the con arguments. I'd like to, be it resolved that America's gun culture must be abandoned. Well, no, actually. I'm going to, well, first of all, point out that American history is deeply, deeply entwined with the whole idea of revolution and rebellion. And that's where the American myth started. And then the idea of the patriots, the colonials, firing on the British and in Boston, on the Common there. That is central. It's in the American heart. So you know what? It's not going to happen. It's a non-starter, basically. So when you propose this, it's actually not really on the table. So that's the first thing I'm going to offer. But it's so endemic into the American spirit and the American myth and everything. You know what the real problem is? The real problem is the regulation. That's the problem. You want the Americans to keep up that unique thing that makes them a world dominant culture. But what you want to do is you want to regulate the guns. See, that's the issue. So it's not primarily the issue of the culture. It's, look, we have to control the access to the guns. And of course, there's many different ways we can do this. The point of people walking into a gun store, getting a gun immediately, no police check, no waiting period, no certificates to fill out. See, that's the issue. In the Colorado shooting that happened a few days ago, the man bought a gun in the morning, same day, then went out and started shooting. And he bought an assault rifle too. In the Atlanta shooting, the man bought a rifle, I think 6 days earlier, a few days earlier, and then went out and started shooting. So there will always be these crazy elements in society. Both of these people who committed the mass shootings that really prompted this debate have psychological problems. And so those particular people should not have had guns in their hands. And that's what needs to be changed. That's what needs to be fixed. So that's my argument. It's the regulation, not the culture. Okay, thank you. And let's let's open it up.
Okay, so let me begin first of all by addressing what you said, and that regulation is the way to go. I agree that regulation to a degree is a stopgap, but it is not the solution. Okay, it's nowhere near the solution. If it was the solution, it would have been already done. The fact is that when you start to regulate, there's one thought that comes into mind, and that is you're going to take something away from me. And again, it goes back to our argument that we're saying it's a me first cultural thing. And again, it is not only American, it is something that the world has as a philosophy throughout. So if you're going to take it away from me, I'm not going to allow you to take it away from me. You have no right to take it away from me. You have no right to legislate it off of me. So that creates a major problem. And you're talking about a non-starter. That's a non-starter. We see it every day. What happens? We have the shootings. People start screaming about gun control. The IRA comes around and says, well, today is not the day to argue it. Maybe next day will be the day to argue it, but not today. Today we have to mourn. What happens? It goes out of the news cycle. People forget it. Another shooting happens, and we're right back to there. You want to talk about a non-starter? That's a non-starter.
Mario, you are essentially arguing that the Americans should be denied guns. You're actually saying that that guns should be taken away, because that's the only way that it is going to be possible for America to avoid its gun culture. If everybody, everybody in this world, there's a lot of places in this world that I've heard of. Switzerland, for example, where everybody has a gun because they're militia. They're in Switzerland. At least that's the story from a few years ago. Because everybody from age 18 to about 60 or something in that is a soldier and has to be ready to serve, they have a gun at home, a military pattern gun, and they can rapidly go out, just like the Minutemen in the American Revolution, and form up soldiers and defend their country. You don't hear of massive killings in Switzerland. It's because, firstly, people know that there is a gun in everybody's house, so the crooks are probably going to stay away. But everybody is trained in their use. The people who are buying guns, as Andrew has spoken out, those two guys, the nut bars, had probably no training in the handling of guns. If they were trying to clean that gun, they'd probably blow off their own hand because they don't know how to do it properly. So many times we hear in the US about how accidents happen. Some kid gets a hold of their parents' gun and shoots their little brother or sister. Well, what sort of sane person is keeping a loaded gun around in their purse, in their pocket, in their drawer? I mean, if you're going to have a gun, you have to be able to safely use it. And if you're not trained to do that,
can I interject something here?
You're not going to do it.
Yeah, I want to interject something here, because just in terms of the debate itself, because I listened to what you had to say, Mario, and I might have understood a little bit of what your constructive argument was, but you lost me. I mean, I'm not sure what your argument was. It might have been centered around the resolution, but that's only a guess. And Sarab, you told us a wonderful story about the monkey and the crocodile, which is great. Appreciate that. But what, in fact, does it have to do with today's resolution about America abandoning its gun culture? So if there were judges in this debate, Al and I would be way ahead on points right now.
Are you going to make a point, or are you going to be a judge? Make a point.
I'm just telling you, the judges have the argument so far in the favor.
Right, since you're criticizing,
what I was trying to say, I want to wrap up here, that having guns around, okay, give guns around, agree with me, give guns to everybody. You can do a registration and all that, but don't give them bullets. Can bullets be regulated? Because with the guns, you can have a feeling that you have the gun, but don't use it. And even if you don't buy the guns, why don't we all find out about our own self? I think if they make meditation mandatory, there won't be no requirement for guns at all.
American gun culture is what we want to
Let me just say, first of all, thank you, Al, for telling me what I'm arguing. I really appreciate the fact that you're putting words into my mouth. Thank you, Andrew Wood, for trying to tell me who's going to win the debate without giving any substance to your debate. But let me give you the substance of my argument and the argument that Sarah has. And that is, folks, one thing only. We have to address the cause. The gun issues and the gun control and the regulations, those are bandages. The cause is you got to change society. If it's not clear yet, let me make it even more clear. You have to put fixes in there. You have to look at capital inequality. You got to be able to give people the ability to have work that for equal value, or work that is how a CEO can earn hundreds of thousands of dollars for a job that he's qualified to do, and yet a plumber is earning just a piddly amount of money for a job that he's qualified to do. And if you reverse the roles, they wouldn't be able to do each other's job anyway. Who sets those standards? Who sets the Ivy League standards for people to be able to get a step up in life because they went to a school that they inherited from their parents because of the money? We have to reform political systems. We have to reform labor laws. We have to reform medical systems that people are going to be healthy and caring about each other. And the way you do this is by turning the culture upside down, by making it a you first society and not a me first society. Because if I give you a helping hand, I will grow through that process as well. That is the concept of leadership.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to stop you there.
Mario, that's all well and good.
Takes care of guns.
As Andrew has said, the gun culture in the U.S. is well entrenched. There is the thing called the Second Amendment, which allows Americans to carry weapons. And in recent years, I think in the last 20 years, there was a dispute over whether Americans should be allowed to carry military pattern or fully automatic weapons. And that went all the way to the US Supreme Court, and the US government or the Supreme Court agreed everybody should have them. But why should somebody have half a dozen of those things? Or why do they need five handguns? Or even, again, in the United States, I think you can go out and buy rocket launchers, hand grenades, who knows, maybe even nuclear bombs. This is a matter of regulation.
It's a matter of fear. Okay, they're afraid of oppression. They're afraid.
I have to take control of this debate now. Sorry, gentlemen, time is against us. Look, time for our final summations here. And since I brought up the rear and the constructive arguments, I'm going to start my own summation, and it'll be brief. You know what? American gun culture. Well, American gun culture is American culture. in large part. You're not going to abandon that. So, okay, what can you do? You can regulate it. That's what you can do, and that's the piece that's missing. And so let us not try to set ourselves to retooling one of the foundation aspects of American culture, because let's face it, Americans own guns. No, you want to fix the problem? Keep the guns out of the hands of the crazies. Make the effective regulations that are going to restrict the ownership of firearms, and that's when you'll see an improvement in the news headlines, and try to make these mass shootings far less common. Okay, well, thank you very much. And Sarab, can we have your final thoughts?
Yes, I actually would like the Second Amendment retooled or even abolished. You know, that's my thinking, where you change the philosophy, the culture of thinking. Now, okay, in the beginning, there was all this wild, wild west and how the culture started with the guns. But now we have different immigrants coming from different countries. They are coming and going into the same culture. The guns are available. They don't know how to handle this. And this is why this is happening. So the main thing is education and changing your mindset, the way you think, look at life, look at each other, and live in society peacefully. That way you don't require regulation, you don't require guns. Back to you.
Thank you. Al, can we have your final thoughts?
Sure. Mario, I'd like to thank you for sort of making our point. Yes, there has to be change in society, but it's not the changes that you propose will not get rid of the gun culture. They may get rid of some of the worst excesses of it, but America is hooked on its firearms. And I don't have a problem with that, provided people know how to use them. I know how to use firearms in this country, partly because I was once a soldier. And I learned to respect the weapon. I learned not to use it in anger and not to use it at all, because really I have no desire at all to use it. And that's because I know how to do it. A lot of Americans, and I'm also in a privileged position that I don't have to worry about where my next meal is coming from. So we have to solve the social issues, but the guns are still going to be there.
Thank you. Okay, Mario, last words.
Okay, let me finalize with this. If we put the blinders on and we say that we cannot see outside of the envelope that we shield our eyes from, that there's nothing outside there, we are doomed to keep repeating the same thing over and over again with no resolution. Regulation is a non-starter. We're seeing it. Nobody is going for it. You have almost a 50-50 split on who wants what and on which side. You're not going to get anywhere. The time is to have some people that are capable of looking outside of that envelope, to break the shields and allow people to look beyond just what's going on now. The theory of insanity, as we've all heard before, is keep doing the same thing and hoping for a different result. We need to change the game. We need to change the culture, which is the argument of this. We need to change the mindset. And it's time for people to stand up and start working towards that and stop arguing the minutia, start looking at the bigger picture.
Okay, well, thank you, Mario, and thank you, everybody, for your ideas. A great debate. And so, viewers, we pass the baton to you now. What do you think? What's your opinion? Gun culture. Changes are needed. What kind of changes should they be, and where do you think this society needs to go in the future to make these mass shootings a thing of the past? In any case, that ends our debate for today. And we'll have another great debate next week. And we're going to go back to what we had originally thought we'd do, which is the proposal, be it resolved, that students upon graduation, whether from high school or from college, should do 1 year of government regulated community social service. And I think that's an interesting topic, so I'm going to look forward to that one. In any case, thank you very much. Here is Be It Resolved saying thank you and goodbye for today.
Goodbye, everybody. God rest the souls of all who have perished in this.
Thank you, Mario.
Right. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe so you do not miss another episode. Thank you.